because
an hour at the very most. And it's an hour at the very, very most.
Let's get this show going, man.
Welcome to the Bleeding Burgundy podcast, a Washington Commanders podcast for fans by fans, with your hosts, Jessy Martin.
The Cowboys are finished, you understand me?
John Taman.
Pull down my trousers and do your job.
Scott Hartley.
Well, that was fucking dreadful.
And occasionally, Keith Gray.
So many social engagements, so little time.
And now, your host, John Taman.
And there's my button. Hey, I'm John Taman. What's going on with y'all? How are y'all doing today? It's Friday, man. I like Fridays. Fridays are my favorite day, except for Sundays. Especially when we win, which I think that we should do this weekend. Jesse, my friend over here to my left, what do you think?
Yeah, maybe.
All right, Keith, you look terrible. What's up with that down there in the bottom right? Oh, it's my friend Ken Johanssen. How you doing, bud? I thought for a second there that maybe Keith's creatine had taken effect a little too much, and that the aging process had started. Oh, speak of the devil, here he comes. Anyway, our good friend Ken Johanssen here is here to join us. You joined us in the preseason, and we had so much fun. We're going to bring you back. We're going to do some first quarter grades today. We see Scott down there with his McDonald's uniform on. What's going on, Mr. Scott? How are you today?
Yeah, I'm in my McDonald's uniform, 5 stars, obviously. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And of course, with no video, it's over here. He is. It's Keith driving the kids to some kind of practice somewhere. How are you today, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm doing fantastic. Sorry, my life is a little hectic right now, but I can't bail out on you guys, and I definitely can't bail out on my buddy Ken for a second time. So I'm making it work.
Good. That sounds good. Ken, I'm sure that this has made your entire month.
Yeah. How are things in Mount Laurel?
Yeah, things are great in Mount Laurel. We're living life over here, but actually, Ken, I don't know if I told you, we moved literally right down the road. We're in Delran. So
Delran, yeah, closer to the river.
Yes, sir. So the boys are very active in their sports over here and just running around like a fool as per usual.
Yeah, Keith will tell you that I lived in Medford, New Jersey, which is like about 10 minutes from where Keith used to live in Mount Laurel. But Delran's a little bit further down on what's called, I believe it's Route 73.
It's the other side of the tracks, isn't it? Tell us.
Yes, sir. We actually played Medford's youth football program not too long ago. So, but yeah, John, why don't you go ahead and tell Ken how you feel about New Jersey and how you make fun of us all?
I make fun of New Jersey all the time. When he's telling me that you're down closer to the river, I thought, well, the smell might be something that you have to get used to, but okay. I'm not sure what river it is, but it's in New Jersey, so I'm sure it's filled with some kind of sludge. Anyway.
Such a dick.
I hate you, John. I hate you.
I know. You hate me. But hey, I'll tell you what, when the kids are having those sports and you see one of those Goombas floating down the middle of the river, I bet you go, hey, wow, this is just like TV, huh? All right, so we got some football to talk about, and Jesse wants to finish up in exactly an hour, so we're going to get right to it. Let's see, Ken, you got something to promote, right? You've been typing away over there at Burgundy Blog. Isn't that where you are?
Well, the one thing I had, speaking of grades, over at Hogs Haven this week, I graded the Atlanta Falcons game, and I had a prediction for the Giants game in that same article. So that's really about the only thing I have to put out there. Normally on Wednesday afternoons, the co-host of one of the Red Zone and Lab podcast, that's the Wednesday version with South and Deuce. So, but we didn't make this week, so nothing to promote there. But we will next week.
All right, well, good. Send me a link. I sometimes have a hard time finding that. I'm old. I don't understand spaces nearly as well.
Good guy, Deuce. Yeah,
it's not spaces. It's an actual podcast.
Oh, it is? Okay, good. Because I do try to look for them in the morning, but if it's not over there on my right column, I don't know what to do.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, yeah, when they're on. All right, so why don't we're going to start off a little different this week. We're going to go right into the first quarter of the football season since it's now over. I figure 17 games. It happened somewhere in the middle of last week. So we're going to give some grades. Now, Ken, you were here, I think, in week 3 of the preseason. I think that's when it was. But you had some rather prescient things to say. And a lot of the things that you told us to look for in that game were actually right there for us to all see, and that was pretty good. So I'm interested to hear how these grades start. And I think what we'll do is we'll start off with the offense, and we'll just start with the obvious one, with quarterback. And I will go right now with Jessy, because you're right over there to my whatever.
Yeah, I'm to your left there, John. This is a tough one to grade because there's so much good and there's not a whole lot of bad, but what the bad is really bad. And that's Sam Howell taking so many sacks. I'm gonna have to give him a C+ right now until I see him get better and get the ball out quicker. See if we need to see some progress from him from that grade to go any higher. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with a C+ right now, but that grade should go. I fully expect it to go up by our midseason grades
by Monday.
Hopefully.
Ken, what do you think? Where do you give your quarterback grades? Now, this is for the entire position group, which obviously has just been Sam so far, but however you want to look at it.
The Buffalo game was a disaster.
Yes.
Unmitigated disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago was a disaster, but there was improvement in the second half. But the defense didn't do him any favors. So I'll offer a mixed grade there. But then you look at other games, and again, it comes down to the sacks. And sacks are a thing that you can learn to avoid, but only to a certain point. A quarterback, if they have these tendencies, generally don't improve 100%. But if he can improve by 50%, if he can get away with 3 sacks a game, that's actually a pretty decent number, and you can win at that rate.
Yeah.
So knowing that, I would put it at C+.
C+. All right. Scotty, what about you? Where are you going to grade our quarterbacks right now?
I'm going to go with Sam. I'm going to give him a B-. I think he's improved me. He's proved more than I thought he would improve. He would be. He's better than what I thought he would be. The Philadelphia game, the last touchdown just proved it for me that there's enough time to put into this guy, and he could be the answer for us, which is where I'm at. Sacks wise, yeah, I'm very concerned, like everyone else is on this panel and on this show. It is one of them where you've got the highest rated sacks in the whole of the NFL, 34 he's gone through now. How many of them on the offensive line? How many of them he's pushing himself into because he wants to make a play continuously? I think he also, that internal clock can be fixed, and that will stop a lot of these sacks. But as Ken said, yeah, once you're in them tendencies, they don't tend to go away. I just don't want him to end up, like the David Carr. David Carson. I was going to say Derek
Carr too. He stinks.
No. Well, yeah, you know what I mean. I just don't want him going down that route.
All right. So, Keith, what about you on your grade for the quarterback position after you just executed a fucking wonderful left turn, I must say?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
That was very good.
Listen, I'm not going to say anything that neither Jessy nor Ken hasn't already said. I'm going to go ahead and stick with that C+, but I do believe it's going to be trending upward, and that grade will change as the season goes on. But my C+ is going to definitely be given due to that Bills game and also the concern of the sacks as well. Luckily for this young quarterback, he showed more promise than failure. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with the C+, but I expect by end of the season, we're talking in the B+ when it's all said and done.
That sounds pretty good. I got to tell you this, since it's my turn, I'm going to go ahead and say B-, and I'm going to ask you all the most important question of the day. What the f- is the difference between a C+ and a B-? I don't know. I don't think there's any difference at it, but I just think it sounds better to say I got a B-, and I'm going to give him a B-. He does take the sacks, and like Ken said, that's a problem that stretches back and will probably continue in that he holds the ball. what can be improved is pocket awareness, escape routes, where he can go, how he can at least see to how to help his offensive line. If you're going to stand back there and hold it, there's ways that you can maneuver without being a panic-stricken rabbit that gets caught like he was last week, or bailing out the back. You can
running right into a sack, which he's done multiple times.
Which he did a couple of times, yeah, and that's not helping your offensive line. Like I said, he's the greatest of all time. But watch Tom Brady, and you see how he manipulates everybody with little tiny steps in the pocket. And that's something that you can learn. It's going to take a while, but I'll go ahead and give him a B-. So I think that right now, with our consensus among this panel of 4 gentlemen and 1 elbow, I'd say we got a C+, B-. So we're pretty good there. All right, so we'll go on to running backs, and we'll go backwards. All right, Keith's elbow. What do you think about our running back room? What are you going to give our running backs?
I'm going to go ahead and give a B-. I'm going to give a B- just because I love B-Rob so much. In that sense, I mean, I could also go C+, considering Antonio Gibson with his fumbles, but I'm going to try to keep it positive. I do like B-Rob's gains with his rushing. I would like to see Eric Bieniemy stick to the run a little less happy, which hasn't helped that running back group out. But both of them are also a dual threat when it comes to the pass game as well, and they've done pretty well when those plays are called. So I'll stay C+ at this point, and hopefully again progress forward as the season continues.
It's more proof that the B- and C+ are the same thing, because he just interposed them.
No. Don't do that.
You said
Don't
it with a
do
B-.
that, because if I would have went B-, then I
You
come
did.
off like a hoe.
Isn't that the first thing he said was B-? It's the same thing. Scotty, what about you? What about our running back room?
Yeah, I'm going a straight C for this. Gibson brings it down quite a lot, especially with where he has fumbled in the past. The issues of him going inside every time he runs with the ball through the middle, in north to south, it just worries me every single time without fail. I just think, my word, this is not good. Brian Robinson, on the other hand, had a good season so far. I mean, trucking dudes last week at Atlanta was great. He's very good as well, passing out of the backfield in the passing game. He's come out quite well. Need to see more of Chris Rodriguez Jr. Haven't, in the 7 snaps he had last week, looked pretty decent, but again, he's been ill, he's been injured,
missed practice again this week for personal reasons.
Well, that's fair enough. Personal reasons happen, John, but you know what I mean. I haven't seen enough of him, so they kind of bring the score down a little bit. I'm quite happy with RB1. Thereafter, in depth, I'm not too sure. Straight C for me.
Straight C. Ken, what do you got on a running back room?
Up front, my grade is a C. The reason being is twofold. First, we don't have a 100-yard game yet from any of the running backs.
Not even close.
Now, you could almost go with an incomplete grade because of the time that Chris Rodriguez missed. But he proved last game that he can come in and pick up some chunks of yardage. So it's tempting to go with incomplete, but we have enough of a sample, I think, to give a grade. Antonio Gibson, I think, has shown some flashes, but has also shown very little at times. Brian Robinson, I think his best game was 87 yards rushing, and during that game he had about 42 yards receiving. So overall, that was a great day. Total yardage right around 130 yards. But again, we need to see something like breaking off runs of 18, 25, even up to 35 and 45 yards. Not every game, but certainly once in a while. And I would love to see an 80-yard touchdown run, or at least something close to it, at least once this season.
Sure.
Yeah. And we haven't even come close to that. So, you could maybe place some of this on the offensive line, blocking downfield from the receivers and tight ends. And you can go on and on about it. But still, we need to see more yards, being churned up. And also, he has play calling as well. So
Got mine.
I'm just going to go ahead and go with the C.
All right. Jesse, what do you got?
Yeah, mine is a C minus. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't for the running backs in the passing game, it might be an F. We have not, besides the game where, as Ken just touched on, where Robinson had the 87 yards and then the 42-yard passing game, there hasn't been much. And a lot of that blame goes on Eric Bieniemy and play calling. To be honest, these inside the tackle runs, we haven't had much,
not much
doing at all. So I think the saving grace for this running back group is them in the pass game, them in the screens. Antonio Gibson running out to the flat to catch that touchdown. As the running game is very, very disappointing. So it's a definite C minus for me, and that's only because of one game by B-Rob and the running backs in the passing game. Other than that, not very good.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
You are.
I'm curious to know. I don't play fantasy football anymore, so I don't really keep up with other backs in the league. I'm curious to know what other backs and how many 100 games they have had as well. Is this? I guess I'm asking the question if you guys know, one, and then two, is this a continued trend throughout the league where there's not many backs that have 100-yard games?
Well,
go ahead, Jesse. There's a few.
Yeah, there's the trend that came last year. The running back was going, kind of year by year going down here. It's because it's becoming a passing league. But then you have the trend last year where the running back, it ticked up and there was a lot more 100-yard rushes. Yes, I am fantasy, and there has plenty of runners that's gotten over 100 yards.
I can tell you this: I own Brian Robinson, and I haven't taken him out yet. I've been pleased almost every week,
and that's for he scored 5 touchdowns. And a lot of those are passing touchdowns. To be honest with you, there haven't really been many rushing touchdowns.
Well, like I said, my grade would be the same as what you gave him, if not even just a D. And the reason why is because, and I blame a lot of it on the play calling, and it's because you're right. We haven't gone up through the tackles at all. And I think that when you have an offensive line that struggles and you have 2 mauling guards like we have that like to get out in front and punch people in the mouth, well, man, let's run right behind them. Let's get right behind them. We see very few delay handoffs to let that gap open up. Very few of those kinds of things. Either that or it gets clogged so damn fast. We try too many outside runs that go nowhere, And for me, I would give the running backs a D, and that's why. And it's not necessarily all their own fault. They just don't have much of a chance. Gibson, the fumbles, I hate when he fumbles, but damn it, look, last week when he had that 9-yard run, man, shoo, my heart was in my throat, but wow, that was a good run, and he had 2 hands on the ball. So maybe we're past that. All right, we're going to move right along. We're going to go to the tight end room. We're going to start over here with Ken. Tight ends, how do you think that they have done so far this year, sir?
What's a tight end?
Well, I don't know. It's I haven't had one in years.
John Bates is a good blocker.
Yeah.
He's had a couple of good receptions.
Hey, yeah.
Where's Curtis Hodges?
Gone.
Yeah. I mean, he's inactive every week.
Yeah.
Logan Thomas has had some good catches this year.
No
doubt about it.
Times too.
And Cole Turner early on was, really coming along. But now that Logan Thomas is picking things up, Cole Turner is hardly seeing the field. When you have receivers downfield, that's going to limit the tight ends. I get it. I understand it. This is the one grade that I'm just simply going to go incomplete.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Okay, if you really want me to,
hey, we didn't pay for your parking for nothing. Scott, you did get his parking validated, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, my limo driver doesn't recall that. Okay, I'll give you split grades.
All right.
As a receiving group, I'll be generous and say C minus. As a blocking group, John Bates puts it up there, but the others don't. So I will go D+ and be a bit generous there as well. But
so
again, I think both grades are just being generous. There's a player out there right now who might be on the trading block. I try to get him because I think you can get him for a mid-rounder, and he's pretty good, has a pretty good future. And I think if New England is sellers in the next week or so,
right,
Mike Gesicki is a good player to get.
Gesicki's a damn good receiving tight end. He's almost like a wide receiver out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would agree with that. And plus, as a Penn State fan, he's got plenty of people in the building there would be on his side. All right, let's see, Scotty. What do you think about tight ends?
Can you give an E? I don't know.
Yeah, you can give an E.
Yeah, they're not very good. They've just been, I mean, Logan Thomas, okay, as you said, he's flashed at times. He was good. But he's had concussions as well, which not helped. Not his fault, obviously. Headhunted against Denver, but at the same time, he's been okay. I just never really know where the depth is in this tight end room. Cole Turner, we've been talking about him for 2 years, and he's just not even getting any snaps at all, and he's not around. He just seems like he's missing in action a lot of the time. Curtis Hodges, no idea where you even are, whether you see the field, whether you're inactive. Bates, we know what Bates is. Bates was the best blocker in the NFL in his rookie season, dropped off last year, and things don't look like they've changed this year. So E for me.
An F.
It's one of the quietest groups, isn't it? So
but I don't think we should blame the players for this. I think it's more on the coaching staff and the scheme. Eric Bieniemy leaves a lot to be desired in some of his play calling so far. I'm gonna go D+. I think Logan has kind of saved that really. Which some of the good, great plays that he's made this year, and even those are too far and in between. They need to get more involved. That's for sure.
All right, Keith, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to give Jessy an A because he's got the tightest tight end I've seen in years. But if we're talking about our group, definitely a D, and there's no point in reiterating what you guys said because I agree with it 100%. There's not much to talk about with these guys.
Well, geez. I don't know, who is the Uber driver. Is your ride there yet?
Is your fare there yet, Keith?
Listen,
we're going offensive line.
I had to take one kid to a football game for a JV game. I'm here at a baseball game. Cut me some slack, Burrows.
I'm going to give the tight ends a C. That's my grade on the tight ends because for everything everybody else said about the invisibility of the others. Cole Turner, when he's had a chance, he's made a catch or two, but he doesn't get much of a chance. And a young quarterback's favorite player is a good tight end. And I think Logan Thomas has provided that with the exception of the fumble. He's been a reliable target. And I have no problem whenever I see them dump off to him for that 8 yards where he can just turn around and do his little lumber for another two yards and get a first down. So I don't mind that at all. All right, let's move on to the offensive line. We got to move a little bit quick here. We got 7 minutes to get through the rest of the team here so that we can get on to making fun of the Giants. All right, Scott, we haven't started with you yet. Offensive line grade, please.
D.
A D.
Straight up. I mean, two of the offensive line I've got no faith in at all. I think Nick Gates is horrible at center, giving up a lot of sacks. His snaps are good, but he's giving up too many snacks. And when he fell at sacks, even when he fell over like a weeble, against the Bears,
that dude pushed him down. Yeah.
And then Wiley has been pretty horrible as a sign-in as well. I'm really impressed last week with Lucas coming in, not giving up a single pressure. That was great. And Charles Leno's actually been quite steady, as of the other two. Cosme's having a great season. And Sadiq Charles is surprising me that he's not injured as of yet.
All right, Ken, what about you?
I'm going to go C+. I know that may seem optimistic, but this group is, at least to a certain point, doing what they need to do. A lot of sacks, we know, are on Sam Howell. If you look in the last game against the Falcons, the pocket looked quite good for a good part of the game. Yeah, a couple times it broke down. That happens. It happens a few times each game. So that's nothing to be alarmed about. If it happens on every series, yeah, that's an issue. And I think we can point to the Buffalo game for that. So I think this group is savaged on social media quite a bit, and I feel like a little too much. And if Howell could get that ball out about 0.3 of a second sooner, even if it's a throwaway, I think people would be talking at least a little bit better at the line.
Yeah,
so,
Yep.
Yeah.
I give it a C+.
I'm right there with you, Ken. I'm C plus, maybe even B minus. A lot of these sacks are on how. There was a stat and chart that came out the other day that Sam Howell has the most time to throw out of all 32 quarterbacks.
Yep.
I mean, what do we like? This offensive line gets trashed. I mean, this offensive line gets trashed, and I mean, they're not the greatest offensive line in the world, but they're a hell of a lot better than most people think. And Sam Howell's got to do his job and progress and learn, as we talked about earlier. He's got to get that ball out. I mean, the offensive line, they're only made to hold up for 2.5 seconds. I mean, you're holding it for 3.5, 4 seconds. What do you expect to happen when your quarterback runs into you from the behind? That's a lot of people think, oh, that sack was on Leno. Guess what? No, it wasn't on Leno. He was doing his job. Sam just ran right freaking ahead of him. I mean, you see other quarterbacks be able to manipulate the pocket and move around. That's something that Sam has yet to figure out yet. Yes, he's still young, but this offensive line is a lot better than people think.
Yeah, I would tend to agree, and I'm going to give them a C. I don't like the run blocking. I like their screen blocking. I like when they're able to get out in space, and you can see when Sadiq Charles and when Cosme get downfield, man, they get downfield like a couple of heavyweight boxers that have been released from, released from their cage a few minutes too early. They're having themselves a ball down there mauling people. But I just don't overall like. I think I agree with Scott. Nick Gates is just awful. The dude, he poses a lot, but how about show up? That's what I'd like to see. Penalties have not really been a big problem, so I'm not too concerned about that. Wiley has gotten better in the last week. We'll see tomorrow. What side does Thibodeau come from? Does Thibodeau go against Wiley, or does Thibodeau come in against Lucas or
Leno?
Go against Lucas or
does he move around? All right, we'll get to the Giants in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a C. We'll move on to the defense real quick. Defensive line. What do you got on the defensive line?
You're forgetting Keith with offensive line.
Oh, Keith, I'm sorry, offensive line.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go C. I do like I feel like that this line has improved, even though the competition isn't stellar. They still have improved through the season. Ken mentioned the Falcons game. I touched base on that on the last episode when we were reviewing the game. Not a single one of those sacks was on the offensive line. Shout out to Lucas for even playing well in Leno's absence. The line to me, I think, is improving as the season goes. I do agree with what Scotty said, about the other two guys. However, Jesse, you hit the nail on the head, 2.5 seconds. Our guys are giving Sam Howell that. Now, one thing that I don't think gets talked about or mentioned enough, Sam definitely takes some bad-looking sacks, even when the line is protecting him. But I'd like to see some video, some film on our receivers getting open during those sacks as well, because I do think that contributes.
There is some coverage sacks. You're absolutely right about that, but that's when he needs to learn to throw it away.
Yeah,
well,
you got to get rid of it.
Correct. Here's the problem with him throwing it away. A lot of his sacks look like he gets caught in the middle of the pocket. He's not really outside of the pocket when he gets sacked. And so I think it's much more difficult for him to throw it away. Also, I do think that he's scared of throwing interceptions. But as we know, during situational play, a sack can be just as bad as an interception. So, there's definitely room for improvement there. But I think that we don't pay enough attention to, receivers maybe not getting open on certain plays as well, which is making things, look bad on everyone's end. But I think ultimately overall, the offensive line has definitely improved, and I hope they continue in this direction as well. So I'll stick with the C.
Yam just had a comment in the chat that he thinks, and a lot of fans think that it's 60-40 offensive line to Hal, which I think it's the opposite. I think it's about 40% that the line's fault and 60% Sam Howell's fault.
I'm starting to agree with
the
that
stats,
as well.
the stats and the numbers and all the times it's showing that to be correct. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. When PFF isn't always perfectly right about everything, but their numbers are true, and especially when it comes to timing and what NFL averages and how that works. So just Sam's got to do a better job. I mean, this not saying this offensive line is awesome, but it's doing enough to be able to give Sam enough time.
Here's a number for you. So far this year, on drives in which the Commanders have taken a sack, they've only scored twice.
Yep,
2 times. So yeah, it matters, especially when we see it continually happening in the other end of the field where we get out of range of anything really happening. All right, so moving on to the defense real quick. Ken, defensive line, since I don't know where Keith went.
He's probably lost somewhere on Route 130. I know that area well. It has dead spots. Yeah, exactly. Defensive line is a bit mixed, but overall, they're still all first-round picks and often perform like it. The Denver game, Deron Payne just went off, and that was just amazing. Or was that the Cardinals game?
No, it was the Denver game. He went nuts.
That's right, yeah. And the second half of the Cardinals game, that whole group was what turned the tide that game in the second half. And they had a pretty good game against Atlanta. Let's not talk about Chicago.
No, we're not going to talk about Chicago.
And because that's pretty bad. And let's also not talk about Buffalo because, first of all, Josh Allen can make a defense look silly, and ours look ridiculously silly.
What the fuck is that? Keith, are you standing in front of a speaker or something?
My mic is muted.
Who's listening to music?
I don't know where that's come from.
Probably
music on in the background.
Oh, it was Jessy.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, Ken, sorry about that. I didn't want you to
No, that's all right. So with all that in mind, I'm not going to give them a low grade because these guys are still quite good. They've proven it. They have had a major hand in 3 of those victories. Yeah, in a couple of those games, they were pretty much lost. And another game, they were pretty, fairly competitive. So I'm going to give them a B-. That's my highest grade so far.
All right, I'm going to jump in on this one right here right quick, and I'm going to give them a C. I don't want to go quite a minus, but a C-. Look, you're right. They have played well against teams that they should play well against in some instances. I can't erase that Bears game. All right, I can't erase the fact that they managed to get pressure, but it doesn't manage to turn into anything. I think that Montez Sweat has turned into a ghost. I think that Jonathan Allen, I give him a little bit of a pass because he's hurt, but I just don't see. All right, F.A. Obata is now apparently ready to go, but where's Phil Mathis? All right, he was supposedly able to come back out. We've got our rotation just isn't getting it done. We're not getting pressure the way we should be getting pressure, and we're not stopping the run as well as we should have either in the losses that we've had. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a C- is what I'm going to do. Scotty, what about you on the defensive line?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a C, straight C. I think I disagree with you, John. I think the depth has come up okay. Hill last week, great game.
Hill, yes, Hill does.
But they're performing. They are performing where they need to perform, and that's the problem. You don't see it against the Bills. You don't see it against the Eagles. And you're right, we've been on here a lot of times, and some of these defensive ends have gone missing. I mean, for me, would I sign either of these defensive ends? I'd probably give the money to Chase right now. Montez Sweat,
he's been playing.
Yeah,
Chase
he's
has
not been about. So it's a tough one. It's a mixed bag, as Ken said. But yeah, overall C for now. It's been actually slightly disappointing. Is what
you got to get home.
Yeah,
you got to affect the game. Jesse, what about you?
D-. The defensive line is the most disappointing part about this whole entire football team. The only we had the Cardinals game that the defensive line played decent. Half of the Broncos game, and then the rest of the time it's just been Chase Young. They've disappeared. Montez Sweat, other than the first 2 games of the season, has disappeared. This defensive line is supposed to be the heart and soul of this football team.
Yes,
it has not been. And
agree.
Seem harsh, but it's facts. It's been disappointing. They have let this team down over and over again. It all starts up front with this defense. Being able to get the pressure, being able to stop the run is supposed to help the back end. And we've seen all these explosive plays that's happened on the back end. Yeah, they do miss assignments and get torched for or trying to
We'll get to them.
But the fact of the matter is, this defensive line was supposed to be top 3 in the league, and it isn't in the top 25 to me.
All right, Keith, while you're outside in such a gorgeous setting, look at that sunset behind him. He looks like he is sitting almost in paradise. All right, except that we realize it is New Jersey, and those are waves of
Hey.
But I'm sorry, I guarantee you there's a landfill within, I'd probably say 5 miles.
That is North Jersey. He is in South Jersey, which is clearly nicer.
Well, I mean,
that is correct, sir. Thank you, Ken.
You get it in proximity of Philadelphia, and yeah, I guess I would agree. They do keep it nice down there. That kind of precludes why you would be there. But hey, what do you go ahead and say about our defensive line?
Yeah, let's go ahead and slap them with a D. This is 4 first-round draft picks that we're talking about, and they are completely inconsistent. Once again, Jesse, the intelligent guy that he is, hit the nail on the head. They are the most underwhelming defensive line in years, especially when, we had them pegged at least top 5. There were some, and even national media talking top 3. And the problem that we're having is they're damn near out of top 15, in my opinion. To me, their play has been subpar. You'll have one shine each game, but they don't shine together. I'm also going to put a D on that as well for Jack Del Rio as well, because Jack Del Rio calls some dumb defensive plays. Dropping Chase Young as opposed to using him to his actual skill set is absolutely asinine.
He only did that one drive.
Yeah, it's a zone fire blitz.
One drive.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That was one drive too many.
That was one drive too many. Yeah.
He's one drive too many. That's not your guy to do that with. I don't care that all teams do it. Chase Young ain't the guy to do it.
Do your job.
It's not like he got burnt on both of those. However, that's just not something that we want. We need complete pressure, not the drop back. I'm sorry. It's just I hated that call whatsoever. However, like I said, I know that isn't, hasn't been happening all the time. Just don't do it again. However, defense is just underwhelming big time. And like I said, only one guy shines each game. It's never a whole unit. So they can take a D and hopefully improve for the rest of the season.
So they can take a D. Keith, you're talking dirty around the kids. Be careful over there. All right, so we're going to have to run through this pretty quick. Linebacker, Ken, I know you've been itching to talk about the linebackers. Tell me about your grade for the linebackers. Can we all agree we're at least at a D to begin with?
I don't know what a linebacker is.
Is there the grade of Z?
Z.
No, I'm going to go. I'll go along with you and say D. I mean, Cody Barton has been the major liability. Yes, he had a pretty decent game against Atlanta. Let's see if this is a trend. The first 5 games, we want to forget about that. where was Barton? What did he do? And those first 5 games for him were horrible.
Yeah.
So I want to see what he does the next 4 games. Let's see what he does, over this next 5 game stretch.
Or Sunday.
If we get Cody Barton earlier in the season, then not good at all. But my goodness, Jamin Davis is starting to prove himself to be a pretty good NFL linebacker. Obviously, he really stepped forward this past game.
Yeah.
But really, before that, he proved that he's getting better week by week. So, considering the time here, that's it. Letter of D, grade of D.
All right, Jesse.
Yeah, you got 2 ends of the spectrum here. I give Jamin Davis a B and like a B or B minus, and Cody Barton an F minus. So where does that land in the spectrum of the linebackers? You have to grade it a D minus then, because Jamin has been playing so good. He really has stepped up this year and taken his role by the horns, even though we wish he was on the field 100% of the time, except instead of Cody Barton. But like Ken said, let's see what Barton does going forward. Maybe
he played well last week.
Yeah, maybe it's just taking a while to settle into that defense, but it's got to be an F just because of Cody Barton and how bad he's been. But Jamin Davis gets B in my book.
All right, Scotty.
Can't disagree with either with Jesse's comments there. It's a straight F for the overall grade, I suppose. But I mean, where do you land? You're right. Jamin Davis has played very well over the last couple of games. Cody Barton just been an absolute liability from start to finish. I mean, I was talking to Scouse about it, and one of his friends said, you signed Cody Barton, and started laughing. He obviously knew how bad he was going to be. Yes, he's there analytically with all the stats. He's the top tackler. He's this, he's that. But you're not seeing it with the eye test. You're missing, big plays up the middle of the field, and he just looks lost a lot of the time. When it's a third down, you pretty much know it's going to be converted if it's going up the middle. So, yeah, very worrying. It just seems that they've neglected linebacker for 2 to 3 years now.
Keith, what about you in that gorgeous sunset?
Yeah, I'm really liking Jamin Davis' progress. I mean, we've been really down on him. We expected more out of him, and I think this season we're starting to get more out of him. I know I said this all show. Hope that he can continue to build on that and improve. Cody Barton, I'm not going to repeat everything that you guys said. We all know what we see. So if you were to take those 2, my overall grade would be, thanks to Jamin Davis, I'd move it from an F to a D.
All right, I'm going to go with an F plus. And I'm still disappointed in Jamin Davis. All right, dude, this is year 3. I don't want him to gradually be working his way onto the field by now. I want him in command of the defense by now. Year 3.
Not necessarily on him.
I mean, exactly. And so that's where I'm going to take the rest of this grade is freaking Jack Del Rio, who seemingly has no idea what a linebacker does or how they are utilized. He keeps bringing in guys like Cody Barton to take the place of Cole Holcomb, who is the same exact goddamn late to the party thing. And I'm tired of people telling me, they led the league in tackles. They led the team in tackles. Well, you know what? That's great. But when you make the first hit on the guy 7 yards past the line of scrimmage, you ain't showing nothing. All right. When it's 3rd down and 2 all the time or 2nd down and 1 all the time, because our linebackers leave the gaps in the middle of the field that they do consistently, I have to look at the coach. I have to look at Jack Del Rio in so many ways about why this defense is always underperforming. And it always boils down to the middle of the field. There are gaps. Okay. We were talking about Chase Young and pressures the other day. He gets great pressures, but there's a gap behind him that's freaking 25 yards deep. And all the quarterback has to do is get around him, and he's got acres to run through. So, yeah, I'm pissed off at Jack Del Rio for his nonsense about this. We're going to try a hybrid linebacker position. It's a failure, you moron. Change it. Do something about it. And that doesn't mean call John Bostic on the bat phone, because he ain't saving anything. So, yeah, I've F plus on the damn linebackers only because they played okay last week. And he let
the one thing
play. Go ahead, Ken.
The one thing I'll say about this past game with the improvement that we saw from the linebackers, to me, I think one of the reasons they improved in that game was the presence of Khalid Hudson. I think they just seemed to be all in sync for that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hudson wasn't on the field all that much, but it just seemed to have a positive effect. Hudson made one of the plays of the game by not allowing that 2-pointer. Yeah, Jonathan Allen had the guy at the legs, but Hudson is the guy that met the running back head on and didn't even sniff the end zone.
Right.
So I would like to see more of that 3 linebacker set.
What's going on, Nathan?
Maybe 12, 14 times a game. And
I would too.
Yeah, and go from there. Yeah, I think Hudson is just far better than Barton at the position. So let's see if he can slowly work his way into the lineup and replace Barton. Maybe not. Maybe Barton does continue to improve. But I think that Hudson should get more playing time.
I agree with you. We've been waiting for that for Hudson. You know, I had been down on Hudson too because it took so long for him to develop. But in that Dallas game at the end of last year, he played very well. He did very well in camp. And it took them 5 weeks for them to insert him into the lineup, man. And this is where I come back to Jack Del Rio. All right, let's go over to the secondary. We'll just go secondary cornerbacks and safeties all at the same time so we can get on to the Giants. Scotty, what about you? What do you give them their secondary so far this year as a grade?
Very tough. I mean, some have played well and had a few moments here and there. Kendall Fuller's actually been pretty decent. He was on a Pro Bowl trajectory over the first few games. Then he's been burnt. Manuel Forbes, well, the less said, the better at times. He started out quite well, and then you benched him, and obviously lost confidence going against the 3 top receivers in the game at the time who were going after him. AJ Brown, and then DJ Moore, and then obviously, not good. I don't know, really. It's a mixed bag again. I'm gonna have to give these probably a D. You know what I mean? At best, yeah.
All right, Keith, what about you? Our secondary. Oh, okay. Ooh. He's got to figure out the technology here.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give them a D myself. Emmanuel Forbes has absolutely gotten torched in 2 games, and he is a first-round draft pick. I expect him to get torched, but not as many times in a game as he has against the Eagles and the Bears. I just can't get past those 2 games, which is kind of, I haven't been so high on this football team for those 2 games. I mean, I do love the Atlanta win, but that's against Atlanta. They still haven't proven to me that, they're a competitive team. Their defense is just terrible in my opinion.
Background.
It sounds like there's a freaking predator behind him.
The
predator is there.
There's a let's see,
helicopter.
Oh, you got a helicopter?
Yeah, because I'm right by the high school, and high school's got a football game going on.
Oh, it's helicopter
ready to go on.
Yeah,
I'm just surprised that it's out flying. I didn't think helicopters news crews really covered football in the air like that, but okay.
That's pretty cool. It must be just a lovely night. You were, for a minute there, looking like the usual yokel out in the middle of Missouri that saw a UFO. I seen it right up there. It was right over there, I tell you. It was as big as could be. All right, let's move on to the New York Giants. I'm going to show you all this real quick.
Why did you pick Daniel Jones so high? Well, for one thing, I can tell you for a fact there was at least 23 or 24 other teams that wanted him. And I picked him because he's perfect. He's just great. I mean, my God, you should see him. I watched him throw a couple of times down at the Senior Bowl, and I said, wow, this kid, he's terrific. What a guy. But he's young, and so he's coming in here to learn. We talked to Eli, and Eli's going to take him under his wing, you see, and he's going to show him how to be a Giants quarterback.
Gee-Paw, did you see that? Well, that's some fancy rock skipping there, youngin'. But this here's the Pro Leagues. Let me show you how we do it up here in New York City. Now just hold my pole. Let me find me a good old rock here. Let's see, let's get this on. Oh, here we go. All right, now you stand up tall and you cock your arm back like so. and then boom. Well, gee, Pa, ain't you supposed to throw it? Gee, Pa, can you show me how to cast one out real far? Sure thing there, young feller. Now, what you gonna do is survey the field till you find one's way out there. Like that one, there's one. And now you cup your arm back like this. And you throw it real hard. You can go past interference. Come on, goddamn it. All right, now, let's just practice some face drills. After a sack. After a sack number 2. Interception 1. Interception 2. The fumble. Another fumble. Your third fumble.
I don't know what the fuck was going on with the goddamn audio that was behind the video, but there you go. I made that a couple of years ago when they drafted that moron. And I do have some. Did you see this? This was Daniel Jones on the sideline on Sunday night.
To do what they've struggled to do.
Just a quick look at him, but there he was. All right, so we get to the hated Giants, the hated New York Giants. And I don't know about you, Ken. Me and you are the oldest fans in this room, probably the oldest fans on Twitter. But I tell you what, man, I hate the Giants more than any other team in the NFL, and that includes the Cowboys. Phil Simms, you know why, you toe-headed little bastard. I can't stand him, and I can't stand him forever. So I hate it that Daniel Jones has been able to beat us.
Well, let me start first because I'm gonna have to leave here in just a couple minutes, and y'all can continue. I kind of wish Daniel Jones was going to be playing in this game because I want to beat Daniel Jones. We should want to beat Daniel Jones, and to be all honest with you, with how bad he's been playing this year, what's his name?
Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor. That didn't look all that bad up against the Bills. He moved the ball pretty well. He moved the ball. That offense was moving better with.
They didn't score.
Taylor. No, they didn't score, but at least they moved the ball against a pretty damn good defense. So maybe that worries me a little bit. I mean, Taylor's a savvy pro, but if you fart in his direction, he could get hurt. So
that is usually how it happens too. Yeah, he gets hurt in the weirdest ways. Didn't he have he was in San Diego playing really well, and then some intern punctured his lung with a hypodermic needle. All right, so before
he went for ribs and his lung got punctured. Nice one. Yeah,
I do have something that's interesting, and this is real. This is Daniel Jones. This was an audition that he did for a toothpaste commercial. So.
Let's get a take here. All right, cue music and action. Oh my God. Cut. Jesus Christ.
So it didn't go so well. All right. So the hated fucking Giants, not only are they down Daniel Jones, but they just lost their left guard. Right,
they've got they're seriously taking applications for linemen right now because I see Evan Neal's been hurt. Their top left tackle has been hurt. Their left guard just went on IR. I think they have one starting. Do
you want me to read it to you now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've got left tackle Andrew Thomas out hamstring, right tackle Evan Neal ankle. I've got center John Michael Schmidt's shoulder, offensive tackle Matt Pert, who's the backup right guard, shoulder. Then I've got also Shane Lemieux tore his bicep on Wednesday's practice. And on top of that, Josh Azudu went to IR, and he was the week 1 starter at left tackle. So they literally have no one. I think Glowinski.
I think Evan Neal is coming back, but he's been playing like shit all year long.
Exactly.
So, here's what I put this question to you. The last time that we saw an offensive line that we should have absolutely rolled past and destroy, we got smoked on Thursday Night Football. Is there any reason at all that we should not destroy this offensive line, kill Tyrod Taylor, take their women, destroy the stadium, and basically just ransack New York City?
I'm for all of that. Okay?
There we go.
Yeah. Anyway, just real quick, after Sunday's game, sometime Monday morning, probably late morning, if Washington wins the game, go to YouTube and look up Vic DiBitetto.
Oh yeah, that guy's a trip.
I'll post a link to him
do that
around midday on Monday if Washington wins the game. He's a regional comedian throughout the Northeast and maybe a couple other parts of the country. He's pretty funny, a bit raunchy too, but he loves to have big time rants if the Giants lose, and he pretends to be the Giants GM, and he yells at the team and everything. So be on the lookout for that. If Washington wins the game, I'll post the link to it on Monday. But anyway, I'm like you. The team that I can't stand the most in the NFL and probably all of sports is the New York Giants.
Hate them. If I saw them sinking in the ocean, I'd throw rocks at them.
When I moved to New Jersey back in the early 90s, I was transferred up there. That's a long story. But settled there in Medford, New Jersey, and I realized I could get to maybe some games over at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, became the Link years later, as well as some games up in the Meadowlands, and I did. The first game I went up to the Meadowlands, I was wearing a Redskins jersey, of course, and I was beaten pretty bad just for wearing the jersey. I mean, I was bloodied. Just for wearing it.
Really? Physically?
Coming out of the stadium, and I didn't ruffle any feathers or anything, but I was jumped.
No,
I was okay, you know.
Punks.
But
Giants fans are subhuman. I've said it for years.
But they bloodied. You know, I didn't have that treatment in Philadelphia at the Vet or the Link. You know, if you go to a game at the Vet or the Link and you don't act like a jerk, you're okay. You really are. But if you go up to New York, and what I was told by a few people that did help me, you know, get to my car and everything after that, they said, if you were wearing a Miami Dolphins jersey up here, you're in trouble. Said, you know, we're sorry this happened to you and all that. So I've had bad taste in my mouth ever since about New York Giants. John Mara is the other reason. I won't get into that, but we know why.
We know why. John Mara, honest to God, and this is an absolute fact. I don't know if anybody realizes this or not, but when the Acme Dildo Company makes a new brand of dildo, they use John Mara's head.
I have nothing for that.
John Taman, everybody. John Taman.
Hey, I'm just bringing you the news.
What I'll say about this game, and to your original point in question, is that if we truly play to our potential at all the positions we've talked about, this should be a blowout game for Washington. Granted, I think there's something inside psychological there, but I still think Washington can win by a comfortable margin of 10, 12, maybe even 14 points. But, you know, if Washington loses this game, all bets are off as far as possibly defensive coordinator being replaced at some point soon. But I think the head coach is safe through the end of the season.
I agree.
For many reasons. But it wouldn't surprise me if a move is made on that staff, because someone needs to be held accountable if we have another situation like we did with the Chicago Bears. And, you know, you're willing to forgive the team for the Buffalo Bills. Just put that behind you. But still, you don't want to lose this game for many reasons. And we've all outlined it. So that's where I'm at.
All right.
I'm gonna give you my score prediction. I'm about to head
Give me
out.
an X factor and a score prediction. Go ahead.
All right, my X factor is going to be Brian Robinson in the run game.
Okay.
I think because of the wind, they're supposed to be calling for 20 miles an hour, 20 to 30, and gusts up to 35 miles an hour. This game needs to be called on the ground. We need to stop the run, and Brian Robinson needs to, you know, have another 87-yard performance and 2 touchdowns or something like that. But I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I'm definitely taking the under. It's going to be Washington 19, New York Giants 10. I love all you guys. Keep it going, and I'll see y'all later.
Yeah, Jesse.
All right. So, Ken, keep it going. What is your X factor for the game, and what is your score prediction?
The X factor for this game is Jahan Dotson. He'll break out. He'll get over his slump. I'm predicting 8 catches for 154 yards.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And he will also have an end-around rush play that will gain 23 yards.
Woo.
Wow.
And as far as the score, I'm going to go Washington 31, New York Giants 20.
Oof. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to see. Keith, what about you? X factor and score prediction.
Yeah, I love Jessy and all, and I would agree.
It's not that kind of love, though, is it? Right? It's not that kind.
No, not that kind of love. It could be though, but he denies me. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make here is even though it's a windy game, and you think that you play around too much.
I have a soundboard. I can't help it.
I know. You would think that the call would be to run, but I don't think EB can even stick to that type of game plan. He's just too pass happy. He hasn't shown me otherwise. I think Terry McLaurin is going to be the X factor in this game. I think that we have too many good receivers that the Giants are not going to be able to cover. We're going to have to ask our defense to keep up. My prediction score is going to be 24-21 Commanders, but honestly, it could go the other way as well. I never am confident against the Giants because we always give Daniel Jones Hall of Fame games.
I know it. I hate it. Scotty, what about you? X factor and a score prediction, sir.
So my X factor for the game is Montez Sweat has to turn up, has to show up. And I think if you're going against this this offensive line that's so beat up, it's ridiculous. If he can't physically get it done, I will see you in the offseason. I wish you well and move on to another team, my boy, because, yeah, you need to get it done, and he is the X factor. I can see a 2 or 3 sack game from him. I think the whole line needs to feast. For me, going to be a bit of a massive blow up. I'm going to go one better than Ken. I said this yesterday on our show, 31-10. Absolute destruction. And we can relax by the end of the third quarter.
All right. That sounds good to me. All right. For me, my X factor, look, it's going to be the linebacking crew. Darren Waller is the only thing they have on offense other than Saquon Barkley, and both of them come under the linebacking crew, and you got to keep a tab on both of them. You can't let either one of them get away, because I don't want to see one of these games where they can march right down the field, and then march right down the field again, and before we know it, in the second quarter, we're down 15, 20 points. So keep those guys under wraps. That's my X factor. I think that they'll do a good job of that, and I think that no matter what, Tyrod Taylor just isn't going to have enough to be able to get it done against this team. I say good guys 27, Giants 12. 12. And that's
I agree with you. I think that Cinco package needs to be out again this week, John. It's it's dependent when you run it. You run it against a run heavy team like Atlanta, absolutely works. John Ridgeway filling the gap, great. But it needs to happen again because they are over reliant on Saquon Barkley, and that is it.
Don't put it in a situation where the referees can make a bad call on you.
Correct.
One thing
same crew as last year as well.
You know what? All this crap I see on social media. Look, we got pass interference. Shut up. We put ourselves in a position where that call mattered.
Yeah.
You know, anybody wants
Did they officially say that Tyrod was starting, or is it still up in the air?
I would bet on it.
Game day decision, Keith.
Still up in the air.
Yeah, but I would bet on Tyrod Taylor. Either way, get underneath. If it's Daniel Jones, as much as I hate to say it, Ken, you'll agree with. You're old school. You target that dude. You get an elbow up underneath there, man. You give him the shot. That's what I say. Well, maybe you don't agree with me, but that's what I say. You give Daniel Jones a shot right up under the chin. Make him feel it.
Look, you've used up all your cards of agreeing with you for today. I've done it, twice, 3 times?
I think so, yeah.
I think you've run out. I really do.
I think so, yeah.
But
we've been talking forever, but we agree about this many times.
But I'll let that statement stand without saying anything.
I agree with Keith, though. I'm terrified of the Giants because we show up dead. And Ron, you got to get them up, man. You got to get them up. This is a big game, no matter what anybody says, for a million different reasons.
More than anything, John, we've got 2 back-to-back division games here. And I tell you what, if you lose to the Giants and then you lose to Philly, it is a massive, massive hill to climb.
It is. What I mean? And really, we're sitting okay in terms of playoff tiebreak.
Yeah, exactly.
We're okay at the moment, but we'll see how that all ends up. All right, tomorrow, Scotty and I and Jesse will be back to pick NFL football games. Did we do all right last week?
I haven't totaled it up yet, but I do have the still have the paperwork in hand. So
the Big and Boss will tell the truth.
Ready to go.
There we go. We'll find out how we did last week. I'll find out whether or not my wife is going to be happy with me, or I can take her on vacation and buy her a diamond. So until then, we'll see y'all later. Let's go, Commanders. And we're out.